is. She picked it up now and took it back to her little shrine in the cupboard. Safe now. She mouthed the words and smiled. The woman in the picture smiled back at her. Love you, Joy, she whispered. And this time her words were clogged with tears. Her battered old phone was lying in the sink, she saw now. How had it got in there? With fumbling, sweaty fingers, she wiped a few drops of water from the screen, checked her missed calls. Work. She had missed her first shift back since she had fallen ill. Mattie took a deep breath, finding comfort in the fact her chest no longer wheezed, and the heat that had swept across her body, engulfing her in waves of pain, had gone. She still felt like shit, though, and her throat was dry and scratchy. Last night must have been a bad one. After 6 weeks of lying on the grubby mattress, sweating out some kind of vicious flu bug, Mattie had dropped into the pub to see if anyone had heard from Jono. Most people ignored her, only paid attention when she mentioned Jono McQueen. It had been a dead loss. Nobody had heard from him or seen him in weeks. They had just looked at her, in that pitying way, or with a glint of malicious amusement, telling her without words they thought Jono was too good for her. He had left her. Of course he had. Pushing her hair out of her eyes, she scrolled down, smearing the screen even more. Still no messages from Jono. The sadness inside her shifted, reminding her it was there, poking at the raw place that never seemed to heal. Her boyfriend had been gone a whole 6 weeks now. Deep down, Mattie knew he hadn't left her. She knew he could be dead, probably was dead, in fact. No more Jono to help her score drugs. There were plenty of others who would do that, though, as long as she gave them the money. But last night she had spent her last wad of fivers, and the plastic box wedged under the double mattress was empty. If she was completely honest, she hated what she had become, what people saw as they passed her in the street. She had kidded herself Jono really cared about her. In her head she could still see him laughing in the sunshine as they sat on a bench next to the sea and watched the sun rise over the port. The drugs had still been throbbing around her body, her heart beating too fast, her breathing erratic after a long night of partying. But she had been safe because Jono had been beside her. He had always been beside her, had laughed with her, and called her his party girl. When Jono first went missing, she had struggled to pay what he owed. Rumour had spread that he had left her a large sum of money to pay off his creditors, not bloody likely. She rolled her eyes as she remembered hearing the gossip from Denny at the Dragon. Violence was commonplace in her life, and people went missing all the time. Sometimes they came back, but more often than not they just disappeared, forever. After Jono's dealers put the pressure on, she had turned the house upside down in desperation, finding at last a plastic bag full of smaller bags, divided by weight, carefully marked in blue pen. 50 wraps of crack cocaine, with a street value of around £1,000, she hoped. Jono had cleaned everything else out. It was her first time as a wannabe dealer, and she was caught in a drugs raid and banged up for the night. Terrified, she had cowered in her cell after the interview, trying to control her pounding heart, her raw, shaky breaths. She was small time, a tiny fish in the wider net, and she wondered why they had bothered. She hoped it was all a mistake. Then Abs had come down, spoken to her, told her he knew all about Ned, had worked with Jono. She'd known her boyfriend was a police informant because he liked to boast to her about it. That was where the real money came from, he had said, and he loved screwing over the very players he depended on for his livelihood. He liked being the big man, the one in control of someone else's life. Normally, Abs explained, there would have been a formal interview with a